Hello everyone, and today we are looking at changing the subject of a formula. And so we know what a formula is, some kind of equation, something equals to something. What do we mean by changing the subject? When we want to change the subject, it means we are changing what is on one side and we want to move everything else to the other side. What do I mean? Let's look at question 1. Right now we see a formula. We're going to change the subject to what? We want to change the subject to h. This means, in your mind, you should be thinking, I want h on one side and everything else on the other side. And whatever's on the other side, there should be no h at all. So in this case, we see we want to make h the subject. So it's divided by I, and there's already no h over here. So that makes it easy. What we can do simply is, since it's divided by I, we just multiply the right-hand side by I, and we see that they cancel. Of course, that's the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, we multiply it by I as well, and we see that this gives me this. And actually, we're done. Does this look like this? Yes, right? H on one side, everything else on the other side. Ta-da, we're done. Next question. Now we want to do k. We want to make k the subject. So think once again in your mind, you want k on one side, everything else on the other side. No k over here. So we see that k is actually kind of stuck, right? It's kind of like plus j and it's divided by 3. So what we need to do is let's get rid of the denominator first. It's kind of annoying, and so let's basically multiply both sides by 3, and so the 3's do cancel out, so we're left with k plus j equals to 5k times 3 gives me 15k. One thing we have to note is that we also had k over here, right? So we can't just move the j over. Let's rearrange in such a way so that we get k on one side and everything else on the other side. So let's make it, you know what? This is positive 15k and this is positive k. I'm just going to subtract both sides by k. So this gives me, right? And so this gives me 14k. Now I just need to get rid of this 14. Let's divide. How do we do it? Let's divide both sides by 14. And so you can see j over 14 equals to k. Or I can just write it, since they're equal, I can just flip it around. It's the same. Done. Okay, let's look at example 3. We want to make y the subject right now. And how do we do it? Y is stuck inside a bracket. We cannot move it out. Since it's stuck inside, we have to simplify first, expand everything, then we try to isolate y. So let's see. Okay, the 1/3 is a bit annoying. Actually, we can write this like this. And this z is also a bit annoying. So really, we can write this. Let's fix the fraction first. We can write this fraction like this. Right. And then the next step is that this z somehow is behind. Let's just write it in front. We are more used to seeing it in front. Okay, does this make more sense now? What do you want to isolate? We want to isolate, we want to make y the subject, right? Isolate it, make it y on one side, everything else on the other side. Okay, so now let's continue to simplify. We have this 3. It's annoying. Let's multiply both sides by 3. 3b zx plus y. Remember, we're eyeing the y. It's still stuck inside. Let's simplify. Let's continue to simplify. Zx plus zy. Maybe that's better. Now we have this y here. This doesn't have a y, so let's just subtract. Let's move it over, or let's subtract both sides by zx. Right. I think we know what to do now. We just need to get rid of this z, so let's divide both sides by z. 3b minus zx. Okay, so cancel. Y. And let's flip it around. You notice I don't really care if y is on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. As long as on one side, in the end, I can always easily flip it around. And we're done. Does it have y on the right hand side? No. Very good. And there you go. That is part 1.